Welcome to another episode of Office Hours, the recap, where we go a little deeper into the discussion that we had in our Discord room over on chatbotbuilder.ai. Let's get started. All right, guys, we're doing this a little bit differently today. I'm taking over the podcast conversation, and I'm going to give you the skinny on what we talked about in the Office Hours, the recap. So let's get down to it. Today, I'm cutting through all the noise to bring you the key insights directly from our recent mastermind session, Office Hours, over in the CBB Nation Discord channel. If you were there, think of this as a powerful reinforcement of those strategies that we discussed. If you couldn't make it, consider this your essential overview of what you really need to be thinking about in the dynamic and sometimes chaotic world of building and scaling AI businesses. The mission today is to give you a clear, actionable roadmap for launching, monetizing, and managing your AI offerings. I'm going to be unpacking the key strategies, the common pitfalls, and some surprising facts to help you truly understand what it takes to make it in this incredibly fast-moving space. The first thing that really jumped out, the classic entrepreneurial problem, is simply getting things done. Getting them finished. We talked a lot about what I call the 98% finish syndrome. You see this everywhere, right? People get bogged down with multiple projects. They're nearly there, but never quite launch them. And the result? There's no revenue coming in. Having 7 or 8 things 98% finished and none of them out there, that's rough. And I've been there. I am there. Getting out your MVP is paramount. And for those of us in AI, the sheer speed of AI itself demands an even stricter focus on that minimum viable product, or MVP. The core advice that we came up with from the session was pretty clear. Get that absolute minimum viable product running, totally 100% finished, and get it out the door. If you wait for perfect, your AI solution might already be dated before anyone even sees it. All that extra stuff, the extra bonus offers, the extra messaging, the fancy customization, it can wait until the core thing is solid, working, providing value, and more importantly, launched. So how do you get there? How do you force yourself to get things done? Now here's where it gets really interesting. Using AI for accountability. I have this AI GPT that I call Talon, and I created Talon the Enforcer to give me this structured feedback and enforce deadlines, almost like a digital coach. I programmed it to be super mean to keep me on track. It sounds intense, but it's really an effective option for me. Even coming from AI, it pushes things to the finish line for me. It's definitely not your traditional business coaching tactic, but it makes you think. What processes or tools can you build into your workflow to stop that endless tweaking and start shipping? You have to figure out what works for you. How do you break free from that constant creation mode? Especially when AI makes creating things so easy sometimes. We discussed in the group how the solution isn't about having more ideas. It's about ruthless prioritization. Prioritize that core function. Prioritize getting customers. Forget initial perfection. Get a version working, find some clients, then you iterate, you refine it based on how people are actually using it. Get it out there. That's how you make it work. Okay, so you've battled that 98% syndrome. You've actually launched something. Now, a big point of confusion seems to be in the business model. Are you selling the AI as a product, or are you providing AI as a service? Is it just a tool, or is it a whole system or workflow? That's a fundamental distinction, and if you look at the bigger picture, understanding that distinction impacts everything. How you talk to your clients, how you create your content, how you define your contracts, everything. So let's break it down. On the product-focused side, we discuss platforms like Payme GPT. This platform is designed specifically for selling custom AI GPTs. The model here is selling standalone tools, or maybe a combination of standalone tools, either as a one-off product or a subscription. You can also think of this as setting up your own little mini SaaS, software as a service model. You can create and sell your branded stuff, keep the subscription fees, and have it with a secure paywall so you can protect your intellectual property. And you can think of this as a product. You're selling your products on this platform. On the other side, we look at CBB, which is more of an AI automation platform. With CBB, it's not necessarily about selling one tool. It's about delivering complex automation solutions or custom workflows, strategic help. It's more hands-on, so client relationships are usually more intensive, with ongoing contracts and detailed onboarding processes. This is clearly a service agreement. Even though you're selling a product, a tool, or a solution that you've built, it's a whole service package. And white labeling fits in here, especially for agencies. CBB, for example, has an agency plan that lets you onboard your clients under your domain or your branding. Payme GPT, you can also have your own domain there and white label it as a mini SaaS, but it's not really onboarding clients. It's allowing access to your products that you have on the platform. So it's a little bit different, and it's evolving every day, and we don't know where it's going to end up exactly. We're all interested in where this is going to land and how we're going to be able to monetize it, what we're going to be able to do on it. We talked about building some truly good GPTs, something genuinely robust and powerful for our offers. How do you do that? That's where the advanced prompt engineering comes in. It's fascinating stuff. It's not just about getting information in a chat conversation. It's about training the GPT to act like a human expert, or, as we discussed in the group, a coach. It means that the GPT needs to do several things really well. It has to figure out the user's real intent, not just what they typed, but that underlying need. It needs to understand the information that's given and needs to
brand your
prompt
domain
the user for more input when it's needed so that it can ask the right questions, especially when the user doesn't even know what questions they should be asking. And it's constantly evaluating the information to figure out the next logical step so the AI doesn't get confused or go off track. This is significantly more complex than just feeding it data. The ability to coach and strategize, it's what makes an AI GPT truly robust or valuable for somebody. And for people who want to build these kinds of powerful, sellable tools, that skill of being able to prompt correctly is going to set their GPTs apart from the crowd. Okay, so you've built your robust AI product or service. Now the next piece is managing your clients effectively. Our discussions really hammered this home. A structured, consistent onboarding process is absolutely crucial. This onboarding often starts before they're a client. So by defining your requirements clearly up front, like do they need to have a website with information on it or specific accounts set up, you need to have those determinations made and have those prerequisites set. And if they don't meet those prerequisites, they're not quite qualified yet. But this gives an opportunity to have another package that you offer to get them qualified, to get them to the level that they need to be to accept your AI solution that you've built. Because if a business isn't ready for it, if they're not set up for it, they're not going to get the value out of it that you're intending. Getting them to that point is going to be beneficial for both of you. It's not about being difficult, it's about setting everyone up for success. When you start plugging in AI, when you get these offers out there, the clients that you take need to be in the right place to receive the benefit. Alongside of that, good contracts are essential. Well-defined contracts, terms, fees, deliverables, they all need to be spelled out. But it's not just having a good starting template. Your contracts need to evolve. They need to be almost a living document where they change according to the environment that you're operating in and the clients that you have. They're all going to be a little bit different. So we talked about learning from experience, adding clauses based on things that went wrong before, like early termination penalties or fees if the client causes delays, and clear scope of work so you don't get that scope creep. As you start out with clients, you're going to learn things from each client that you get that you like and you want to repeat, or that you don't particularly like and you want to change and not do. And you'll start spelling all those out clearly in your contracts. And as important as it is to put in what you want in a contract, it's just as important to put in your non-negotiables, what you don't want, what you're absolutely not willing to compromise on in a client engagement. And being ready, like truly ready to politely decline clients who just aren't a fit with those terms. And that can be hard, especially early on. I'll admit, early on I ended up working with some nasty clients, but it was because I didn't set those boundaries correctly. I was just taking any client in the beginning, and you really do learn a lot about what you will and will not put up with. And now I'm prepared to let 10 people walk away if they need to, rather than compromise my standards or my sanity, frankly. It's a powerful lesson to learn how to value your time and value your expertise, especially with these complex AI projects. We also discuss practical stuff like managing access. How much access do you give the client? Do you give them the back end to all the AI tools? That's a tricky one. You might want to only give clients access to, say, the inbox and the analytics, and not let them touch the flows. Sometimes you have to stop the clients from accidentally breaking things or misusing the AI in ways they don't understand yet. Protect the system, protect the client from themselves sometimes. You might want to hand off the account entirely and not have any access or control after that initial installation. And that's something that you're going to have to learn as you start taking on clients and delivering these solutions. And then there's the question of disruptions. We were all talking about GPT going down and being able to pivot. Some of us jumped right over to Gemini when GPT wasn't working and had that backup system, so things kept running. But then when everything started to go down, there were a lot of interruptions. And you need to understand how you're going to deal with that with your clients. What's your response going to be? And that takes some resilience. That's tough sometimes. So now we've built out the solution. We're managing the clients. But how do we scale this? How do we grow? Using AI to scale an AI business, it's kind of meta, but it works. Use AI tools to generate sales pages, copy, write your emails, even customize your contracts based on your templates. It frees up so much time and mental energy for the builder to be able to have those tools and do those tasks. So we're not constantly having to worry about all that stuff as well. I'll be honest, I spend so much time trying to perfect copy and messaging. Having AI help me with those tasks and ideation's been a game changer for sure. And if you really want to scale and you want to have your own SaaS and get an agency or white label what you're doing, that's definitely a way to scale. However, it's not always a simple setup. One of the discussions that came up was setting up those agencies or white label plans, and they can be quite technically complex. Sometimes you might need external developers or a really deep understanding of APIs to properly integrate it all. A lot of moving pieces, especially with those fast-moving AI models. It's just not like flicking a switch. Sometimes it takes a little bit more effort on your part to get all those pieces lined up properly together. So you've got the tech, the model, the operations. So now what about actually promoting the business, getting clients in the door? Promotion is super important, and integrating clear calls to actions is absolutely the way to go with all of your content. This was a big topic of discussion because let's face it, most of us aren't doing that very well. You have to be direct, be consistent. Now, one of the things I've started doing, because I have so much stuff everywhere and trying to keep all of my call to actions organized and consistent, was becoming really a lot of work. So I decided to use my chatbot, Sparky, as my one call to action contact. That way everybody gets into the bot and Sparky knows, depending on what they're talking about or where they came from, where they are supposed to go, which sales page or next step they're supposed to take. And that's been working out pretty well so far. But you have to figure out what works for you. There's never one right solution for everybody. And so while we're having these discussions, being in these masterminds, we get exposed to different strategies from other builders and creators, and that helps to have a plethora of options to choose from. And so get in these groups, come and join us, listen to the conversations, because you really do glean valuable tips and strategies in the discussions that we have. Another common challenge that came up during the discussion was managing our time effectively. That's always a big one. Fighting that too many unfinished projects thing that we started with and just staying consistent across the board. That is a big challenge for many entrepreneurs. It shows that even with this amazing AI, human discipline is still absolutely essential. Ultimately, it boils down to action, just doing it. Overthinking versus doing. You can have the best strategies and the most powerful AI tools, but success comes from getting into that mindset where you make decisions, you take action, and you put your offers out there. Stop letting them just sit in development limbo. And in a field like AI, it's changing constantly. So the ability to learn, adapt, and act isn't just a nice to have, it's a non-negotiable. Continuous learning and adaptability, they're truly table stakes skills now. Everybody needs them. Everybody has to have them. And you're going to have to take time and have that discipline to do it. Set aside time to learn. So we covered a lot this week in the session, from the practical challenges of just launching something to the deep nuances of building something truly robust, and then long conversations and discussions about managing clients. But the core message seems to be really clear. Focus on finishing things. Understand your business model. Do you have a product or a service or maybe something in between? Get your offer together. Leverage that advanced prompt engineering. Build stuff that's genuinely valuable. I think this discussion really shows that success in the AI business world isn't just about being technically brilliant or knowing the latest language model. It's just as much about having sharp business sense, knowing how to manage clients effectively, especially with AI's unique quirks, and honestly, having the personal discipline to see projects through and consistently engage with your market. So as you're listening and thinking about your own next steps in AI, here's a final provocative thought to chew on. In this world where AI platforms are constantly shifting, constantly evolving, blurring those lines between products and services, how will you not just define, but actively defend the unique value of what you're creating? How will you make sure that your AI offerings truly stand out and serve your clients in a meaningful way, no matter how the underlying tech changes tomorrow? That's a great question to ponder, and I'll leave you with that. Thanks for joining me, and I genuinely hope this gives you the knowledge and maybe the confidence to build, productize, and scale your own AI ventures more efficiently. Until next time, keep learning. That wraps up another discussion on the office hours recap. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. And as always, come on over and join us in the Discord room every week live at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. See you next week.